Hey everybody, Glenn, Red Dog Motorsports. We're back out in the shop. It's been a couple of days for me, a week for you. I got Ronan out here helping me. He's off camera here, but he's vacuuming, getting things a little bit cleaned up. We are once again working on, there he is. We are once again working on Tickle Pickle. Gonna pick up from where we left off last week, and that is I need to finish the tunnel. Once the tunnel's done, I can pick the body off, and then we're going to work on plumbing, getting in all of the radiator lines so that that's connected, the brake lines, fuel pump, laying in the electric lines, or I say lines, the electrical wiring, because it all runs along the frame, getting it all connected, whatnot, so that we can then put the body back on. I think when I left you last, I was a little undecided on how I wanted to do the center console. I got thinking about it and realized that that's where the controls for the air ride needed to go, and that kind of determined the shape, the width, all of that good stuff. So I'll be able to bring you in close and show you what I got going on. And then as a bonus, today we got, they call it a hurricane. It's really probably at this point a tropical storm. Tropical storm Debbie's coming through. Really shouldn't affect us that much. We're getting some little squalls, feeder bands, that kind of thing off of it. So it's raining, the wind's blustery. But shoot, we get thunderstorms that are worse than this. But so we're out here anyway. Hopefully everybody else is safe. I don't think it's hitting the coast on the west side of things too much. But let's get to it. Okay, so this is what I'm thinking with the center console, whatever you want to call it. It's not really a center console. It's not going to be open, so I'm not going to have storage in it. But I'm thinking we'll take something just back like this. It's probably going to angle in a little bit, narrower at the top, wider at the base. Something about probably not that much of an angle, probably more like a 65, yeah, right in there. And then it'll be flat going back to here, probably a little bit lower. I don't think I want it all the way up to the top of this, so I'll probably need to get a piece of tubing, square tubing. That'll be somewhere around the 24-25 inch range, which I pre-cut a piece. I cheated. So something like this. Another one right here beside it. They'll go down and forward. You know, they'll probably, these will be flat. The ones below it will angle down. And then we're going to tie them in. Maybe I won't even angle it at the bottom. Maybe I will just go straight. I think we're going to be using some of the same material I used for the bed. I'm going to use that for the sides. And then I've got just the 16 gauge that I'll use to put the top on it. And I think I've got something decorative. I'm not going to let it out right now, but I got something that is going to make the top look better. The controls will get mounted right here for the air, so I can operate them with my fingers. And then maybe we'll have the gauge. There's a gauge that I've got for the air ride that lets me know what the pressures in the tank is versus the bags. It's going to get mounted probably right in there. That way I can see them all. Something like that. Or maybe we'll put the air up front. I don't know. I haven't figured it all out yet. I'm working as I go. So pretty normal for me. But let's wing it. We'll get some of these pieces cut and installed. I got to make a plate down here, so I got something to weld this to. Same thing with back here. Just something a little bit more, a little sturdier than what I got there. I'm probably going to, as thin as this is, I'll probably bolt to it rather than trying to weld this to it. I have a feeling this will just end up tearing off. I don't know. It may not. We'll see. I know I can weld to the floor. So maybe we'll bolt this connection plus weld it a little bit. That's probably more likely. I do need to clean up all of the floor. I need to level this side out to that side. So let's get on it. All right. Well, today's story's one of a little bit of frustration. Had success, but my GoPro died, mine. I'm on a loaner right now. I don't know what's wrong with it. It just quit. It won't turn on or nothing. Not a big surprise. That's the one that went in the water. But for as simple as the part I made, we really struggled with it. The design went well once I decided on one. I didn't end up doing what I originally talked to you guys about. So the design itself worked out great. It was the implementation. I really didn't have the right equipment to get all the bends I wanted. I got a couple of them, and then I really just fought trying to get the other ones. We did do it. Of course, since the GoPro died, I didn't get any of it on film, which sucks because it was a good story. But let me bring you in. I'll show you what I've gotten finished, and then we'll go from there. Tomorrow, it's really just going to be about welding, and then doing some more welding. I got to try to get as much of this welded in as possible, get the boxes welded in. I got to get everything back in here. I did get a loaner welder, a smaller one. It's just a Lincoln Electric 140. It runs on 025 wire, shielded gas. Much better for doing this thin sheet metal. I'm able to do a lot better welding with it than my big machine, which just likes to blow holes in it. So I should be able to get this done faster and a little bit better. We still got these holes to fill in. I got these two and then some areas down here on the bottom. That should finish out filling in the back of the body. I do need to work on a couple other body parts on the exterior and on the tonneau cover. Just cutting out some metal and forming it in, and you know, I got to fill in the four-wheel drive shifter holes, really what I got to do. Not a big deal. Just going to take some time and get it done. But let's bring you in, show you what I got, and then we'll sign out till tomorrow. As much as I would have liked to have had a more organic shape than square, this worked out best for what I needed. So it's all one piece. Even this end here, I folded it down. I tabbed these sides over. That was where some of the difficulty came with trying to get the bends, because I didn't have any way to do these except by hand. And getting something in there and everything, bending this 16 gauge over was tough. There is a little bit that goes below the floor and behind the back wall. I'm hoping once this is all welded in to bend those over and form tabs, just to give it some additional rigidity. But now we just got to weld it in. These are my air controls. They're going to go up here in the front. It is just barely wide enough to fit them, but I wanted it like that. I want it nice and tight, so they'll just barely squeeze in there. And then not sure yet if I'm going to put the gauge somewhere up here or if I'm going to do like a pod mount or something, or I'll put them up there. I haven't decided yet, but we'll figure that out. But this is going to work. It's nice and strong. I've already got some of it welded in just to make sure it holds in place. So there you have it. All right, we're back out at it. I got Ronan.
Hi.
He's over here. Got him taking apart an AC compressor. We want the big ball bearing that should be underneath the wobble plate. Not positive it's in this one, but it should be. Typically the wobble plate in there for the compressor section rides on a big 3/4 inch ball bearing. Plus it's good experience learning how things work. Maybe we'll even have him put it back together so he can work on remembering how to memorize where things go and stack them and all that good stuff. Me, I'm gonna have a better day. Get back on the tickle pickle. Lots and lots of welding to do. I got probably 20 feet of sheet metal to weld, if not more than that. But I want to get at least the majority of it done, everything like that, so that we can pull the body off. Maybe even if I get enough welding done, may get the body pulled off today and sitting over here, and then tomorrow we can start working on all the plumbing items. So let's get to it. All right, so I've got, I don't know, about a little over a third of it, I'd say. Probably not quite half of the total welding that I have to do done. Ronan, he got his AC compressor part. Sorry, I'm walking. It did not have the big 3/4 inch diameter ball bearing in it that we wanted. It had these little half ones like this. It had 2 each per piston. There were 5 pistons in there, and they rode on the wobble plate, and then so they could wobble around like this and stuff. But it was good for him to take it apart. Gave him some experience. He had a lot of fun with it. More fun than I'm having with my welding, I know that. But we are getting it done. And as with all things, we're learning. This is really thin. The crappiest part is this had galvanizing on it, and like this does. And even though I cleaned it off, when you clean it off, you make the metal thinner. And then it's inconsistent. So I'll like be going along, and then I'll hit thin spots. It's just the nature of what we're doing. But it's going together. It's getting locked in. So I have the back side and this side of the box to do. There's some big gaps I'm gonna have to figure out. We've got all of this side to do yet. And a little bit back here. The firewall, or the back wall, has actually been some of the hardest welding. I thought it would be easy, and it has not been. So I've got some work to do going through there. Started welding in this can. I've got about half of it done. Yeah, big gap. I'm gonna have to figure that out. And there's a bit of a gap over here. Some of that I can take out with a hammer. I don't know, some of it I might have to do a piece of wire or a piece of sheet metal, something. We'll figure it out. It'll all happen. So that's where we're at. We're gonna go get some lunch, come back. I'll continue working on this. Gonna get as much of it welded as I can today, and then we're gonna take the body off and we're gonna start working on plumbing, because that's really what needs to be done right now. I need to get the plumbing done, get the body back on it so that we can get her as a runner. The closer I can get it to a runner and being able to drive it around and sort out any problems that I might have, the better off we're going to be when we hit the show up there. I don't want to get up there and have this thing fail on the drive, the test drive that they make you do. I want to drive it with ease. So let's get on it.
Went down to the river, washed my sins away, praying, 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 praying for another day. I went down to that river, washed my sins for free. The devil's on the other bank.
Okay, as you can see from the time lapse, we got a lot of welding done. Most of the time lapse was on the center console, but I've got all of the bottom of it welded. We've got all of the bed welded, the toolbox, both of the storage boxes are welded. The only thing left is just the very back of the center console portion and the bottom of the back wall. Then I need to make the 2 patch panels that attach, that cover up this area over there and here, little triangles, just because I changed angles and stuff. And then we still have some exterior patch panels that need to be done. I've got some stuff that's going to happen up here. So tomorrow we're going to run and get some tubing, and we're going to get another sheet of metal to do the repairs that still need to be done. The tubing is for the radiator fluids from the engine back to the radiator, but we'll get that, we'll pull the body, and then we'll get started on plumbing. The remainder of the welding, I'm probably going to wait a little bit until the body's ready to go back on. I think I'm going to do some welding underneath it just to make sure that I've got good strong connection and everything. It's going to be way overkill, but so what. And then yeah, that's it. The welder was giving me fits earlier, and I finally figured it out. The plug, I had it plugged into an extension cord, and apparently it went bad, and it finally caused it to trip the breaker on the machine. And then when I went to check everything, I figured out that the cord was the issue. I played with this setting, that setting, wire feed this, ground, clean this, clean that. Yeah, it's always a simple thing. So that's where we're at. We're done for the day. We'll catch you tomorrow.
Staring back at me, I'm a dead man walking. I'm a dead man walking. I'm a dead man. Another nail in my coffin, another nail for me. I gotta look pretty when I go down. Another nail in my coffin, can't you spare one more? I gotta look pretty when I'm knocking down heaven's door. I'm a dead man walking.
Okay, so you can see a little bit from the, I didn't film the whole thing, but we got some time lapse of removing the body, and you can see in the background that it is down on the floor. It means the chassis is sitting right here, and man, do I got a list. I put it together, taking a look at what I got to do. I'm definitely behind a little bit, a couple of days. I should have been on this like Monday, and today is Wednesday, halfway through Wednesday at that. But we're going to get it done. So, fuel system, I need to connect it to the motor. I need to connect it from the lines down here on the chassis all the way back to the tank. Those are pretty easy. I just need to kind of tweak the lines a little bit, run some 3/8 hose. But then I need to cut out the portion on the tank, the existing S10 tank. I need to cut it out and adapt it to this fuel tank, get the new fuel pump put on it and in the tank, because this motor requires a higher pressure than the S10 did originally. But that, once I get all that done, we got a fuel system. I've got the tubing, but we need to bend tubing and run it all the way back to connect to the radiator. Along with that, I also need to make brackets. That's the kind of stuff that's going to take time, the brackets. Not so much even bending the tubing. The exhaust, I need to finish weld it. I need to put the exhaust manifold gaskets in. That's pretty simple and straightforward. Transmission, I need to run the transmission cooler lines from the back all the way to the radiator, or from the back to the front, however you want to look at it. And I didn't really think about it, but I don't believe I have the line or the fittings to make that happen. So we got to get those. And I got to figure out where I'm going to run them, because right now they're coming over the top of the exhaust. I don't really like that, but it may be what we have to do. No matter what, they're going to run right by the exhaust. So, and then we got air lines. I need to run a main feed from the tank to my controls. I need to run the air lines out from the controls to each individual bag. And then I need to run the feed line up to the compressor. And I probably also need to do a one-way valve up there, and I'll probably do a remote fill. I was thinking about doing it down here and putting it in the body, but I think I'll do it up with the motor. And what that'll let me do is if the compressor fails, all I got to do is get an air source, whether it be another compressor, air pump, hand pump, whatever, and I can fill the tank and then fill my bags from there. That way I can, you know, if that fails, I still have a way to get air in there and I'm not completely dead in the water. Hopefully I realize it before I end up in a situation where I'm there with a bicycle pump or something. The gauge that I bought tells me the main air pressure, and then it'll tell me all of the individual airbag pressures as well. So seems like I'm forgetting. Oh, and then wiring. We need to lay the wiring in and get it connected to the chassis, and we also have to finish weld and paint. So I need to come up. That's not in order of how I need to do it, because I should finish weld, I should paint, and then connect everything. Yada yada yada. But we're standing around talking too much. We need to get to work. We need jokes. That's really what we need. We need more jokes. Okay, so I just decided to jump kind of right on in, just something that was easy and at hand. And that was the air system. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to run a 1/2 inch line from the compressor down to my fill point, which is right down here. It'll go from the compressor down. It'll connect to a one-way valve that I've already installed. That goes into the air tank, which, if you remember, is all of this here. This will be the exit of the air tank. Comes out, it's going to T, goes to the pressure switch, which I'm checking right now. What I want is I want this to be currently open. So right now it's got continuity. So I guess I should say it's currently closed. So it's got continuity. If I connect this to the chassis, then I take this and run it up to the other side of the switch on that. When this reaches the low pressure, it will go to ground. I'll have power always running to that, the power hot, because I've got power easily accessible, nice short wire. And then it'll turn that on every time this hits low, and I'm only running a ground up there. And then power is easy to access. Rather than trying to run, I could run power from the battery through this and then run a hot wire all the way up there. Then you always risk it vibrating, melting, whatever, and then you got the possibility of a fire. Not guaranteed. I mean, cars have been wired that way for eons, but this is an easy way to do it for a switch like this. It's not right for every switch, but it'll work for this one. From here, we're going to go out 1/2 inch. We'll go down, we'll go inside the center console, and then we'll go to my controls. Let me go grab my controls real quick. I should have had them over here. So these are the controls. You can see we got one for each individual bag. I'll do probably the front side by side, the rear side by side, left and right on, you know, so these will be the left side, the right side, that kind of deal. On the back, we've got 4 ports for the air gauges. This will go to the switch to give me each individual bag pressure. And then I've got to do one more, but it'll have to come off back here, or maybe off of the feed. I could do the feed where it comes in. I can do a T and then the pressure port. That's probably what I'm going to do. I'll probably do a nipple, a T, the in-feed line, and then I can just put the pressure port right beside these. You know, I can angle it down or up, whatever I need to do That way all of these connections are right here, all of the lines are really short, and I don't have to worry about it having like long cables. You know, I don't have to worry about a cable that goes all the way back to the tank, and it still gives me tank pressures. So that's the basics of what we got. We got an exit line here. That's just going to go out. It'll go to a filter. I'll keep it real close. I won't go very far away. That's just my air dump. So yeah, and that should go together pretty quick. And then obviously these four all have to go back out to the individual bags. So I can run the lines. I'm coming out quarter back to the bags. I don't mind it being a little slow. I don't need it to be, I don't need half inches like some of the systems do. You know, this rides at that height. It's only to lower it. I'm not doing, you know, the airbag bouncing and stuff, or hydraulics, or any of the stuff that those guys do. So, all right, we're gonna move on. I gotta make a list of the parts I need for this, make sure I can get all the fittings, and then it won't take but a minute to run all of the airline. So let's get on it. All right, I got started on the fuel system. I went to the front of the motor first just to check on where the existing fuel lines came out. I got to see about making some adaptations from the existing fuel line to the motor. The fuel lines will work, but the fittings are a little bit different. So as long as I can find some adapters and figure out a way past that, the front end is good. So that takes the fuel lines all the way to the back of the existing lines, where I had the 3 lines sticking out into the middle of the frame kind of deal. Those originally went right here. This is the spaghetti mess. See here? This is the spaghetti mess that the 3 lines connected to. This was the vent to the fill. This is the vent to the front. Wow, that was loud. And then we have return and feed. I've already swapped the fuel pump itself. That was pretty easy. I had bought one that just was plug and play, so that only took a couple of minutes. Now, what I'm gonna have to do, this here is bigger diameter than the one that's in the tank existing. This is 2 7/8. This is a little bit less than 2. It's like 2 and something. Doesn't matter. So what I'm going to do, I made a circle out of an old clamp. Drew the circle on here. This is the inside diameter of this O-ring and all that, because that all goes underneath here. And we're just going to cut a hole, this circle in here. With the circle cut in it, I'm going to then figure out a way to make another clamp down bracket, and we will just clamp that right over the O-ring. I think I'm going to take the ball mill, the little ball file, and just do a groove around here that this O-ring will sit in, and then we'll be able to just clamp it down using some screws in a bigger diameter circle. We'll cut it out of aluminum, and that should get all of this clamped in place. It should get it airtight, and then there's already a sump in the tank, so we don't have to worry about that. The height, believe it or not, the height of these two is the same, so it all works out. Just got to make a couple of parts and pieces, and we'll be good to go.
I'm a dead man walking. I'm a dead man. I'm a dead.
All right, it's gonna be loud, but what I'm doing, I got me a ball file on the end of the drill, marked me a circle. I'm just trying to machine in a groove for that O-ring to sit in. Kind of slow going. It's really hot on my hand, by the way. But it seems to be working. perfect, that's for darn sure. Hoping I can sand it smooth. But I get it about like that. Of course, I gotta be careful not to cut too deep too. I don't want to cut through the aluminum. Not that I'm in currently any danger doing that. Well, I'm just going to continue doing this. Get it all the way around. Goal is that this O-ring will sit in there, and when the clamp presses down on it, the O-ring will stay. That seems to actually be doing pretty good. So we'll get a couple more passes on it, and we'll make the ring, the clamp down ring, get it clamped down. Man, my GoPro's got issues. All right, it said it had 33%, and then it went, nope, low battery. All right, so we're working on fuel pump stuff still, making a top plate. Still need to drill some holes around the outer edge. I need to match up to the one I made, the bottom plate I made earlier. This one goes on the tank, then the fuel pump goes in here with the O-ring underneath it and that groove I machined yesterday. And then this one goes over the top of everything. And then all the bolts will go down and it'll sandwich this whole thing to the tank, and it should be leak free. That is my intention. I got Ronan in the background. He's over there grinding on the frame of the rat rod for me. Tickle pickle, because where I cut the body mounts off hadn't been ground down yet. So he's hooking me up, doing a little bit of the work today. I'm gonna get the edges of this scraped up, and then we will get some holes drilled in it, and we'll see if it all fits. Let's get to it. Okay. Let's see about putting all these parts and pieces together and making us a working fuel system. Well, I still need to connect it in the front. Whoops. Of course, first thing I do, step one, is I do it wrong. Got to get the fuel in there first, the fuel sending unit. Then this side. Then you can fold the pickup like so. You work it around all of the pieces. Alright, so that part all goes there. This actually needs to go, we'll go facing that way. And then this piece goes on the top. Hold on. Kind of hard to do one-handed. Alright, then we feed the wires up through. And I got to make the top piece twice, you know, because I wanted to do it right. But the first round I made the hole too large. My bad. So I had to make it again. I didn't bore you with that. Oh, come on, fiddly sticks. Okay, so it's gonna go something like that. We will go over, put it in the tank. Got the screws, they're gonna drop through. I might need longer screws. These are the originals. They're not really made to be there, but we'll see. Let's go over and try it out. Let's see if we can get all this in there. That goes like so, then that, then that. Then we wiggle. We drop this one down. It is backwards, so we need to spin it. Alright, all of those holes line up. those go like that. That one goes there. And then we need to get that in place. Well, I mean, all told, it looks like it'll work. I still think the screws are going to be the wrong size. Come on. Be kind to Daddy. Gotta be nice to me. Yeah, definitely gonna have to get longer screws. They do fit, but barely. I'd like a little more thread engagement than what I'm feeling. Okay, well, I'm going to fiddle with this a little bit and get everything lined up, then we'll show you the finished product. Alright, so everything basically went together just fine. I did have to, so this can only be mounted one way, the plates. And I had it upside down, so the O-ring groove that I put in it, that ended up, if I put all the bolt holes correctly, it would have been facing down. So I re-drilled these two, the rest all lined up. Now we're good to go. Everything's got nice squish to it. It's held down tight. This has no movement. So I've got fuel feed, fuel return. I'm plugging this vent. I've got the rollover plugged into this one right here for right now. The tank vents out the gas cap with the way the current setup is. If I put a non-venting gas cap on it, then I got to do something here. But I don't have a vent reburn thing on the front. So I'll probably just do a vented cap, keep this one plugged in here, and just run it old school. But we need to connect this to a ground somewhere right over in here. This will connect into the wiring harness. This will be my fuel power on, and I'm assuming the purple one's probably the fuel sending unit. So connect these two to the wiring harness, and then I went up front and played with everything up there. I found a couple of fittings, remade some lines, and basically got everything connected. So from here to the motor, if I had fuel in it and power, I could actually have fuel up front. Good to go. Okay, it's been a while for me, a couple minutes for you. Not a lot has changed to show you. I'm working on finish welding back here in the back. I've got the rear brake line bent. I've got a front brake line in. Made a couple of little lines off of the radiator for the transmission lines, but I'm mainly waiting on parts. Yeah, a lot of it's not going to be here till tomorrow through Tuesday or Wednesday. Certain fittings I need and all of that good stuff. So just not much I'm going to be able to show you guys at this point. So I think I'm going to wrap the video up for this week. Didn't get as far as I wanted. That's not unusual. It's kind of the name of the game for me. But we are making good progress. When we come back next week, we should be able to make good progress on finishing the plumbing, working on the front end with the welding of all of that, getting it done. We'll probably have to pull the motor to finish up the back side of it. The shocks should be in the rear. Everything should be finished welded. and we should be getting close to putting the body back on. And from there, it's just going to be a rush for the finish. So let's get to it. Okay, it's been a while for me, a couple minutes for you. Not a lot has changed to show you. I'm working on finish welding back here in the back. I've got the rear brake line bent. I've got a front brake line in. Made a couple of little lines for off of the radiator for the transmission lines, but I'm mainly waiting on parts. Yeah, a lot of it's not going to be here till tomorrow through Tuesday or Wednesday. Certain fittings I need and all of that good stuff. So just not much I'm going to be able to show you guys at this point. So I think I'm going to wrap the video up for this week. Didn't get as far as I wanted. That's not unusual. It's kind of the name of the game for me. But we are making good progress. When we come back next week, we should be able to make good progress on finishing the plumbing, working on the front end with the welding of all of that, getting it done. We'll probably have to pull the motor to finish up the back side of it. The shocks should be in the rear. Everything should be finished welded. And we should be getting close to putting the body back on. And from there, it's just going to be a rush for the finish. So let's get to it.